What's up? What's up? This is Royce the 5'9". I want to send a shout out to Mikey T, the movie star. Love and respect to all. Peace.
Man, Royce the 5'9", I really appreciate you joining me today, man. It's a privilege to have you on the channel.
Thank you for having me, brother.
You know, you've had an amazing career that spanned different labels, solo albums, duo albums, group albums. You've pretty much done it all.
Yeah, yeah, man. I like to think that I checked a lot of the boxes. You know what I mean? I've been around for a minute. You know what I mean? Like after you kind of get in it, you start to make a lot of mistakes and shit. You start to learn to be a little bit more purposeful with your movements, and you start to really get a better understanding of what it is that you actually want out of this shit. You know what I mean? Like we come into it, we all come in at the beginning and we just assume that we all want the same thing. You know what I mean? Which is what's marketed to us on TV. You know, like fortune and fame and plenty of success. Then after you be in this shit for long enough, you start to realize success is really subjective. You know what I mean? So it's yeah, so it's like, you get into it, you come into it kind of blind, and then you just kind of learn as you go. You awaken as you go, as things come to a realization. So yeah, it's definitely been quite the journey.
How was the music scene in Detroit? How was the music scene in Michigan? Break it down for me a little bit.
It's a real diverse, real diverse. Back then, let me see, 95, 94, 95, I was still in high school. Shit was still about the radio back then. You know what I mean? So at that time, it wasn't really a such thing as like a famous person, a famous artist from Detroit. Like the most famous person I probably saw was like Joe Dumars at the gas station or something. I fanned out, you know what I'm saying? So like we had the hip hop shop, which is the historic Maurice Malone open mic and clothing store. So I started going there after I graduated high school in 96, so basically how it breaks down, well, how it broke down back then is the hip hop scene in Detroit, like the hip hop side of it, like the people who were intentional about being lyricists, people like myself, Elzai, Big Proof, Eminem, all the D12 guys, Obi Trice, Slum Village, pretty much anybody you can think of from that, circa 95 kind of like era. We had like a small community where it's like everybody kind of knew everybody. It was like maybe 3 or 4 open mics that everybody would go to. And this was before social media was like the caveat, you know what I'm saying? So that was like our social media. We would go meet up, you know what I'm saying, at every open mic and, be in each other's face, with the energy. So, rather that be a battle, disagreements, like getting into fights and shit, making up, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody was just kind of like a dysfunctional family, but just close knit, everybody knew each other. It was real easy to get popular. If you were good, if you caught on and you were good, then, like it was real easy to get like a buzz within that community. And then you had a completely separate scene, which was like the street side of things, like the street rap side of things. So you had guys that were like get money crews, like the Street Lord Mafia, East Side Cheddar Boys, and they made classic records for the strip clubs. You know what I'm saying? Like in Detroit, we hang at strip clubs. We hang at strip clubs and we hang at like local bars. We're not too super big on big clubs like that. We like the neighborhood shit. You know what I'm saying? So they made records for strip clubs, classic records that still play to this day. You know what I mean? And it was always separate because it was just like they kind of represented one thing in their music. We kind of represented one thing with like what we were going there and doing. It was about the bars with us, but then it was about just the movement and just about the hustle with them. You know what I mean? So you had some guys that can kind of like straddle the fence and like exist on both sides. That was kind of like myself. I got like a lot of close family members on this side, and then also I'm on this side. And then, you have guys that just only exist on this side and vice versa. You know what I mean? So to this day, it's still kind of like that. But now, since M got on to the magnitude that he did back in the day, the hip hop side of things kind of set precedence and got on first. So that's why you seen 8 Mile and all of that, which if you talk to somebody from the street side, especially the youngins, they would probably tell you that that's not an accurate depiction of what Detroit really is. But really it is. It's just not a accurate depiction of Detroit in its entirety. It's one of the layers, you know what I'm saying? So now the street side of things is really starting to shine. You know, you got the Sadas, the Babyface Ray, Young V's, you know what I mean? Like all the dudes is doing their thing. Peasy, T Grizzly, you know what I'm saying? All the dudes doing their thing. And Sean is just like his own fucking, you know what I'm saying, anomaly. So yeah, that's pretty much Detroit broken down in a nutshell.
So when you got involved in the scene, what was the first opportunity that you saw that music could be your way out?
Shit, that's a good question. I I was going to the open mics and shit, man, and I made a choice. Like when my son was born, I decided, because back then you had to have a record deal. You know, that was the only way, being from like the Midwest, that you could like garner any sort of attention. So I just made a decision. I had a friend who was living out in New York, said I can come stay with him, you know, and record as much music as possible and just take meetings with labels. So I just made a decision, you know, like I told myself I wasn't coming back until I got a record deal. You know what I mean? I had just met Marshall in December, you know what I mean? So he was still tearing shit up, doing battles and shit like that. And when he signed his deal with Dre, there was a song we did called Bad Meets Evil, where he wanted to use it for the album. So I went out there to re-record my vocals for that. You know what I'm saying? Like me and him got kind of tight, you know what I'm saying? And then I went back to New York. I started taking meetings, and I did a meeting with Herbie Lovebug, the legend, Herbie Lovebug, and he was interested in my demo. And we were having conversations about possibly doing a deal. And I got on the phone and told Marshall that I was about to do a deal with Herbie Lovebug. He was like, man, listen, respectfully, you're not doing no deal with Herbie Lovebug, bro. He was like, send me your demo out here. I sent it to him, and he played it for Dre. And Dre called me the next day, introduced himself and asked me if I was interested to come out and work on the Chronic. I told him, shit, what? Hell yeah. So I went out there and shit, and that was shit, history after that.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about when you actually met Eminem for the first time. So was it actually at that Usher concert?
Yeah, I seen him before. He introduced himself to me before. I mean, we all knew who he was, you know what I'm saying? Because I had both his albums. I had the Infinite album and the Slim Shady EP, but we had never officially chopped it up. So the Usher concert was the first time we chopped it up. I mean, the reason why we chopped it up is because I had just did an acapella on stage, so he heard me. So that got his attention. So, you know what I'm saying? So we chopped it up about that. And that's what led to us doing work with each other. But before that, I was just a fan, man. You know, like we used to be at the open mics. He used to come through and just, we had never seen no shit like that before. You know what I mean? We had never seen or heard no shit like that before, bro.
So how did you guys go from there to creating Bad vs. Evil? Like, how was the name created?
You know what? I don't even remember how we came up with the name, but I know we were just I was out there with him, and he was starting to do like a lot of shows and shit, and he just needed somebody to kind of like help him out, like with the hype man shit on stage. So I was kind of like doing that for him for a second, and we were just around each other, you know what I'm saying? We would get in the lab and just record shit, you know what I mean? So I think one time we may have decided to like maybe come up with a name so it doesn't have to be like Eminem and Royce or something. I can't remember exactly what the thought process was behind that, but yeah. And then Bad Meets Evil is the name of the first song that we did, so we just kind of like played off of that, you know what I mean? We kind of just based everything off of that.
And on the Slim Shady LP, you actually said, I'll see you in hell for the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually had plans of possibly doing a collaborative album, or what was the thought on that?
Yeah, it was definitely a plan to do one. We that was the plan. He was supposed to release his album, the Slim Shady LP. Then I was supposed to release my album on Tommy Boy, and then we would come back and do a joint album. But you know, it didn't quite go like that. So when we got all those years later, when we got back cool, we just decided to just do everything that we had planned on doing. You know what I mean? Now that you know, things are kind of like in order. You know, we had a fully functional label. I had brought Slaughterhouse over to the table, you know, and we just had a whole lot to unpack, you know what I mean? And there was just lots to delve into, you know what I mean? So we just kind of like took shit one thing at a time. Slaughterhouse, Bad Me Seal, knocked it all out and got it all out.
So you had mentioned it a little bit earlier about meeting Dr. Dre. Can you tell me about M giving Dre your demo? M said, "Yo, I want to give your demo around out here in California," and then getting the call from Dr. Dre the next day. Could you take me into that?
Yeah, he ain't tell me he was gonna play it for Dre. So my father's, my mom and dad's house, and I remember sitting in the room, and my dad just coming in the room and being like, "Somebody named Dr. Dre on the phone for you?" And I turned around like, "What?" You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, what? So I got on the phone, like I still was a little bit like it wasn't setting in what he was saying, you know what I'm saying? And I just heard, "Yo, what's up? It's Dre." I was like, holy shit, that it was like shit took me back to the NWA album, you know what I'm saying? And he was just like, "Yo, I love your shit. Marshall played it for me. Like I wanted to know if you would be interested to come out here and help out. You know, we working on some stuff out here." I was like, "Would I?" You know what I mean? And then I got on the First Thing Smoking, went out there. That was my first time being in Cali, first time being in a mansion, you know, first time really being around a celebrity, you know, just my first time just being around that kind of energy, you know what I'm saying? That kind of magnificent, laid back, carefree, you know, like creative, positive energy, you know what I mean? Like just coming from Detroit. And you know, like at that age, man, like when niggas we get out of school and everybody's trying to figure out what they're gonna do, that's a very self-inflicted stressful time on a youngin', you know, because that's a point in our lives where we do that thing where we kind of pretend like we know exactly what we want to do, and we tell all the adults that, yeah, I know what I'm going to do. I got a plan. I got, you know, I'm going to college or I'm doing or whatever, you know, like we'd be afraid to say we don't know what we want to do. You know what I mean? So that was a time where it was just like, it was mostly stress, self-inflicted stress whenever I could sit around and just be to my thoughts. You know what I mean? So to go out there and just not be worried about nothing but creating, you know, like that. The first time I felt that, I knew that that's what I needed. I needed to make sure that I can always keep myself in that position. You know what I mean? Like I know if I can keep myself in that position, then it'll be few and far between that I will find unhappiness if I can just only have to focus on work and not be distracted by anything else. You know what I mean?
So tell me, what type of experience was it working with Dr. Dre on the Chronic album? Were you working with Scott Storch? I mean, I know he had a lot of artists out there working on 2001.
No, not really. Not really. It was me and Marshall. My man Mailman was in there. Um, and it was kind of like tight like that whenever I was out there. I mean, I know he worked with some other guys. He worked with Hitman. I didn't get a chance to work with Hitman that much. But yeah, it was just us. It was just us, and we were just knocking shit down. You know what I mean? Like Mailman would start an idea, a beat idea. You know, Dre would take it. You know what I'm saying? Do his Dre thing to it. If Marshall don't think of something to it, I would think of something to it. You know what I'm saying? Like if any of us had like any beat ideas or any, it was just a free flowing creative type of thing. You know what I mean? It was my first time working that way. You know what I mean? And yeah, I was just taking stabs at just song after song after song after song, and just like every time he had something done, maybe if he worked on something when we wasn't there, he'd play it for us. You know what I mean? It was just exciting. You know what I mean? Imagine like listening to like Explosive for the first time before anybody else hears the shit. You know what I'm saying? Or like, um, I mean, shit, just name a song. You know, like I was there when M did Forgot About Dre. I was there when they did the beat. You know what I mean? I knew that one was gonna be special. You know what I'm saying? And everything just clicked. Everything just clicked. It wasn't a whole lot of like overthinking or like stressing like, damn, what we gonna do? I know there was a point in time where Dre felt like we felt like he was done, but he was just like, nah, I just need one more. And I was just like, I don't even know what the fuck this man is talking about, but he's Dre. So when he's right, you don't get righter than that. And yeah, he was right. He went to Jay-Z for Still Dre, and that was it. Done deal.
So Royce, at any point did Dr. Dre or Eminem offer you a solo deal?
Yeah, Dre offered me a solo deal. He offered me a solo deal. I also had a deal on the table with this company, with this label called Tommy Boy. You may remember Tommy Boy back in the day. Yeah, they offered me a deal too. So I ended up going with the Tommy Boy deal, and having M executive produce that album. And then I did a deal with Sony after that. M executive produced that album as well.
That's what's up, man. So I did want to ask you why you ended up taking the deal with Tommy Boy over Aftermath. Was it because of maybe possibly being a priority over there?
Nah, I was just 20 years old. 20 years old, and Tommy Boy was offering me $1 million. You know what I'm saying? So at that time, it just sounded like a whole lot of money. You know what I mean? Coming from not ever making any money. You know what I'm saying? So I went to Dre and asked him what he thought about that, and he told me that he felt like I should take it because you're not gonna get that nowhere else. At that time, Tommy Boy was putting the farm; they was betting the farm on me. You know, so I just decided to go in that direction. You know what I mean? So that's the only reason why. I wasn't second guessing Dre or Aftermath in any way. I don't think that I don't think I was evolved enough mentally to even make that sort of assessment. You know, I was just hearing numbers. That's it.
Right, $1 million deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, that's crazy. Did you go from Tommy Boy to Columbia or was it Sony?
Same thing.
Same
Columbia.
thing. Okay.
Sony, yeah.
So I,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, can you tell me about the transition to Columbia Records? How was the fit over there compared to everything else?
It was cool. I mean, I actually I got Tommy Boy to release me. I finished the album and I played it for them, and they didn't understand. They just said they didn't understand who I was by listening to the album. At that moment, I couldn't understand for the life of me what they were talking about. I thought they were just hating. You know, I was super wild back then. Tom Silverman was the owner of the company. He gave me his apartment to live in all while I was doing the album. You know, we just trashed the apartment. You know what I'm saying? Like we just had a bunch of parties and girls and fucking just we was like rockers. You know what I'm saying? So the cleaning lady sent in a report of how fucking inflammatory that we were, and he kicked us out of there. And they ended up letting us go from the label. They didn't want to release the album, so I went right over to Columbia Sony, got another $1 million deal. That was at a time where this is just my observation, looking at it in retrospect. I think they kind of was not so much believing in Nas like they were at one point. And I think they were looking for something to kind of like fill what they thought was maybe a void, you know, because Nas would do this thing where he would just go away. And he would sometimes go away and be so quiet that you would think to count him out sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's one of the things that the industry kind of does. And Nas is one of those people that the industry would just love to just count out. You know what I'm saying? So I came in at a time where they were just looking for that kind of energy. And that was it. I mean, I fit in fine. You know what I mean? Like everything was fine. I finished the album and then it got bootlegged. Something happened and it got bootlegged, and that's what got it shelved. So I went to E1 and did a situation with them. It's called a points override deal where they would release the album. So I ended up releasing that album over there. And then I somehow figured out a way to get off Sony without owing them any money. And then I just went straight independent after that.
That's what's up. So let's talk about Renegade. Can you remember the initial recording for me? I believe you had said it was for your debut album. You guys were just looking for records.
Yeah. So how I was working with Marshall was we were gonna do one, you know. So we recorded two. I remember when we recorded Renegade, I sat there, I watched him make the beat. I must have had something in my mind that I thought I wanted to hear, and maybe he had something in his mind that he thought he wanted to hear too. But when we did that song, we were just like, all right, cool, whatever. You know what I mean? We had this other one called Rock City that we felt like it could be, it sounded more like a single, so we kind of like focused on that one. And Renegade was a joint that was just sitting, you know. So when Hove reached out to Marshall, it wasn't the first time he had reached out to him, and Marshall wasn't able to make his deadline last time, and he didn't want to tell him, he didn't want to tell Hove no again twice. So he hit me up and was just like, "Yo, man, what do you think about me giving him Renegade? You cool with that?" And I was like, "Cool with it, shit." Like, thank you for even thinking about asking, but you don't have to ask me nothing like that, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit, it's an honor. You know, it's gonna be an honor and a privilege just to hear y'all two together on a joint that I used to be on. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit is like exciting. I can't wait to hear what he does. You know, so he took my verses off, took my parts of the hook off, sent it to Hove. Hove just filled in the gaps. Classic.
Wow, that's interesting to hear about the timeline, you know, the deadlines, because I remember reading in Ja Rule's book, he had showed up to a Jay-Z studio session late and they had already done the record. Jay-Z was leaving. Deadlines are very serious when it comes to hip hop, huh, Royce?
Yeah, it depends. It depends. It depends. It depends on what kind of deadline. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hate deadlines. If I can avoid them, I avoid them. But you definitely gonna work. You definitely gonna hit those at the in the younger parts of your career. You know what I mean? Because you're gonna find yourself on other people's time most of the time. Thank God I kind of graduated from that. So I kind of like to not be on other people's time. But every now and then, there's a deadline here and there. You know, and then I'm always real intentional with making sure that I meet said deadline.
Well, it was definitely dope to see Eminem show up on Jay-Z's Blueprint album with the Renegade track.
Oh, he was right on time. He wasn't late or nothing. He wasn't late or nothing. Like, that shit came together like magic.
How did you end up reuniting with Eminem to record the sequel album?
Well, I started a group called Slaughterhouse. I helped build a group called Slaughterhouse. We built it. We just got together and decided to just form a group. You know, we were just being competitive rappers, you know, on the internet, and it just started to, you know, grow. And we ended up on the Rock the Bell stage, on Rock the Bell's tour. And we decided to record an album, put the album out. Came out #1 independent album in the country, #1 hip hop independent group in the country. And Shady reached out and wanted to talk about doing a deal over there with Slaughterhouse. So, you know, that's basically what happened. We did the deal with Slaughterhouse. We had some time to kind of rekindle the relationship, which, you know, it had been through, you know, a lot of tumultuous situations and shit like that, but it had been so long since, you know, anything bad was said or anything bad was done or anybody had feelings. You know, everybody was starting to just get older, tired of it. You know, we all lost proof. You know what I mean? Like, people were less drunker. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the energy just started to become a little bit more mature. I think it was time. I think we all were mentally in a space where we could intelligently and maturely navigate like a redo of the relationship. You know what I mean? I think when we were younger, man, it was just like none of us were used to, you know, none of us asked for like fame and like a whole lot of like popularity and all this money and all of this shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I just don't think none of us dealt with it well, because we all kind of like felt like that we had to compete with each other. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just natural. It's just natural coming from that environment. That's what you think you got to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's real easy for us to kind of like go against each other and just kind of like try to one up each other as opposed to seeing the value and unifying. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like what the jewel that we kind of like all took from, you know, all of those years of just disparaging things. You know what I mean? So yeah, so we just went into it. We did the deal. We focused on the Slaughterhouse album. We had to wait like a year to complete the deal, to actually sign it, because of some prior business dealings that Joe had that needed to be worked out. So while we were waiting on that, we were kind of like in limbo. And I was already traveling with Marshall anyway. I was a part of his traveling party, like going on the road with him and shit like that, because he just wanted me to be around him. And one thing led to another. I played him a couple songs that I was working on. He jumped on a couple of them. One turned into two turned into three turned into four. Next thing you know, shit, we was pretty much had an EP done. You know what I'm saying? So we just decided, yo, put this out. That's how it happened.
So how was the chemistry? I mean, like you said, it'd been several years. How was the chemistry getting back with one of your closer friends, like being friends, but then also jumping in the studio?
It was cool. It was cool. That was the easy part. You know, the work is never hard. You know what I mean? Like sometimes the politics can get the best of a situation, you know, especially when you have other people with different motives and agendas just involved, and just having to say, you know, not being able to really communicate properly, you know, and taking that communication for granted, you know, and not really being intentional with, you know, what needs to be said and what needs to be understood. You know, like that's a young person trait. You know, that's like a pet peeve of mine now, to watch the youngins go through shit like that and me not step in and say something. You know what I mean? Because I just know from experience what can be achieved through the proper amount of communication, and what can go wrong due to lack of communication. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I could have prevented a whole lot of fucked up shit. I could have prevented a whole lot of really bad shit from happening if I had just been sober, because I know I would have been able to talk and communicate my feelings, and at least speak to whoever I needed to speak to and get the situation to a better place. Because none of these things are rooted in anything that's so serious. You know what I mean? Like, I can honestly say nobody's never did anything so serious to me that warrants all of this aggression and, you know, wanting to harm people and all of this shit, especially not in the rap space. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just really just misplaced aggression. You know what I mean? Nobody really fucking hates each other. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that you can't harm whoever it is that you're really angry at. You don't know who that is, so you just harm the closest thing next to you, and that's your brother. You know what I'm saying? So it takes for you to go to some wars to find that kind of peace. And when you find that kind of peace, then you realize how important it is to you. Then you start to really, really do this life shit on the right frequency. You know what I'm saying? That's when you can truly be successful. You can learn, you can achieve things, and you can also teach. So now you moving around with a purpose, as opposed to just running around taking shit, harming people, taking shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's a slippery slope.
So Royce, I got to ask you about how Slaughterhouse came together with all the different guys from the, you know, New York, Jersey, Cali, and Michigan. How did you all come together and form Slaughterhouse?
Well, Joe reached out to all of us individually and asked us to be on a song on a project he had called Halfway House. And when he got me on the phone and he told me who all was gonna be on the song, he said, Crooked Eye, you, Joel Ortiz. I said, damn, that sounds like a Slaughterhouse. And he giggled and said, I might call it that. And that's what he called it. You know what I'm saying? So the song was called Slaughterhouse. And when he put it out and he seen the reaction from the song, but when we seen the reaction from the song, we were just like, damn, the reaction was different. It was different from what we were used to seeing individually. So we just decided to just keep working with each other. And then, you know, that turned into us feeling like, well, damn, maybe we should be a group. You know what I mean? So we just noticed that people liked just to see us interact. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even just rapping on the same beats. It was like Joe would pull his camera out and like just upload videos of us just sitting with each other talking, and people would just be excited. We just didn't understand why, so we just kept doing it. You know what I'm saying? We just went with it because it felt right, and that's pretty much how it went.
So the first Slaughterhouse album was actually on E1. The second was on Shady Interscope. Why the change in labels? How did that all work out?
Well, we after we did the album on E1, it was really nowhere else to go but to a major. Um, it wasn't like that we were thinking that we needed to go to a major, but all of us as MCs just really was excited about the possibility of working with him. You know what I mean? So I think that was like the main thing. That's what took us to a major. You know, so that's pretty much how that went.
So why or what ultimately led to the group not doing more records? Was there not another album slated to release on Shady?
It was a multitude of things. It was a multitude of things, but ultimately they made the decision that they didn't want to put out the album. You know, it was a lot of things that happened. It was a lot of things that happened. A lot of people offended. A lot of people disagreed on things. When we came back to the table to do that last album that we never finished, we were just in different spaces in life, man. You know what I mean? Like I had just decided to get sober, so it was like my first year sober, and I was just adjusting. I was just readjusting to the world, so everything was just weird for me. You know what I mean? So I know I probably played my role on some level. You know what I mean? Like nobody ever said nothing to me about it, but I'm pretty sure behind my back somebody probably was like, "Yo, I hate when Royce do this, or I hate when Royce do that." You know what I mean? And then Joe was Joe. He was doing the reality TV shit. He had jumped into that, so he started becoming like real famous on that one in that world. Whenever Joe would get famous, it was like his ninth time in his whole career being famous again. Every time he would get famous, he would turn into a jackass. You know what I'm saying? Crook, who used to be my drinking buddy, me and him used to get lit up together all the time. Nah, I wasn't there to get lit up with him, so he was getting lit up by himself. So he was just looking like the drunk one. He was just looking way drunker. Joel, I don't know what the fuck happened with Joel. Joel just decided to start working out, so he got real skinny. He wasn't getting drunk with nobody. Then he fell out with one of the managers. It was just a bunch of bullshit, bro.
So this is just a thought I had. Like, is there a chance of a new member being added, like in place of a Joe Budden if he didn't want to participate, or is all the music already done?
Yeah, no, that'd never happen. That'd never happen. We wouldn't even consider that. But yeah, no, the music is not done. But Joe's good. He didn't lead a group or anything. He just pivoted into the content space, you know. And that's just what he does now. That's what he does now. He's really, really good at it. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't rapped in a long time. We had some conversations about him coming to Detroit, fucking around in my studio. You know, he still loves it, you know what I'm saying? Just on some MC shit. But hey man, it's been like 4 years. That's a tough jump, man, like for him to just go that long without rapping and then jump right back in with us. Like Crooked I is not a nigga that you want to rap with when you ain't been rapping for 5 years. You know what I'm saying? So if he could figure out a way to just kind of like, you know, brush up on the skills a little bit, just tighten things up, you know what I mean? I think we would be able to do something, you know what I mean? But I'm always open to it. I just, you know, I'm not ever down to do it unless everybody is in 100%, you know what I mean?
That's what's up. That's what's up, Royce. And, you know, from what you said earlier about, you know, Joe Budden pulling out the camera and filming you guys all together, it seemed like he was generating interest in the community or even to the labels about all four of you guys coming together. You know, also another thought, if somebody were to be putting, you know, just to get back into it, a verse here and there with three other people would probably be a better way to get back into it.
Yeah, it's not it's not even like it's not like a situation where we are at some sort of like some sort of like spot where we're perplexed or anything. Like we know exactly where everybody stands, which is actually a good place to be in. You know, it's just I understand where Joe is at creatively, like what he's doing, and in order for him to be able to scale what he's doing, as far as a media personality and a media mogul and building his new platform, Joe Budden Network and all of that, it requires a lot of his time. You know, he's never really been a multitasker like that. And quite honestly, when he was rapping, he's really lazy. He's a really lazy rapper. You know what I'm saying? So like, I just like, Joe will probably call me one day just out of the blue and just be like, yo, man, let's do some songs. Let's do a mixtape or something like that. Maybe he may get the bug or something like that. You know what I mean? But that's the only way I could see it happening. You know what I mean? But we got a release. We got the release from Shady. You know what I mean? So if ever we want to do something, if we decide to do something, it's always going to be, the opportunity will always be there. You know what I mean? Like, I have a label. You know what I mean? We're more than capable of releasing music and interacting with our fan base. You know what I mean? We don't need any label, any money or anything like that. We can do everything in house, be self-contained. You know what I mean? So if we ever want to do that, then we can do that. But other than that, man, I'm just happy that everybody is happy. You know what I mean?
What did you make of recently when Lupe actually put it out there that you had felt a way about Cassidy?
I don't know what the fuck he said that for. You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
know it threw me off.
He was trolling. He was trolling. Lupe is crazy, man. He's crazy. But I didn't. If I had been a little bit more aware of like the way that people receive him, then I could have got out ahead of that. You know what I'm saying? But one thing led to another. I'm looking at on YouTube one day and I see Cassidy on a live stream with Mickey Fax asking him, yo, I heard Royce was bringing my name up. What did he have an issue with? And Mickey Fax is sitting there talking to him like, I don't know, man. Maybe he's, did you look at his page? And I'm thinking to myself, like, you about to let this man feel like I got an issue with him and you just did 3 live streams with me. I called Mickey cussing like a motherfucker. Like, man, what the fuck? And it made me mad because I don't want my name associated with no energy that is not the energy I intend.
Yeah, it threw me off.
I reserve the right to be intentional about the way I do everything. So if I'm giving you props, if I'm giving you your flowers, I'm gonna be intentional about that. I'm not subliminal. I don't have a subliminal bone in my body. So if I need to speak to you about something, if I need to check you about something, or if I need to say something disparaging about you, I'm gonna be really intentional about that. So I don't play the middle. I don't do the gray area. It's we gonna do this or we gonna do that. Hopefully we're gonna do this because I love peace. But Cassidy's name coming up in that context is ridiculous. I got nothing but the utmost respect for him as a lyricist. And the last thing I would want for him to think is that somebody like myself, a decorated lyricist, is sitting around somewhere having a problem with something that he got to say in an interview that ain't none of my business. That's not even a part of my genetic makeup. So I was more offended by that. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, man, but Mickey didn't mean anything by it because Mickey is my man too. You know what I'm saying? It's just that somewhere along the way, he appointed himself to be like the liaison between everybody and he just kind of dropped the ball in that spot. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's kind of understood now.
Or definitely, man. I was like siphoning through all of it. I'm like, damn, I got to watch an hour over here. I got to watch 45 minutes over here just to see what Royce might have said about Cassidy. You know what I'm saying?
I don't speak on people like that.
Yeah. So you said that you are actually a fan of him. You've been watching him. What have you made of Cassidy's return to battle rap, man?
It's interesting to say the least. It's interesting. I think he's bringing an energy that's very necessary, and I'm enjoying it. It's interesting to watch. You know what I'm saying? Like he's funny, I never knew him to be funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like when he was making music, when he was just focused on strictly making music, it's like he ain't never even smiled. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just was about bars, just tearing shit up all the time. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to see him funny and talking about like the science and shit like that. Because when I was talking about like the hip hop side of Detroit back in the day, you'd be at the hip hop shop, all of those conversations about the science, syllable connections, and like just the techniques involved in the pen. Like we would have those conversations night all day. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I thought us in Detroit was the only ones who cared about that kind of shit. Like, me and Marshall still talk about that kind of shit all the time. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting to hear him talking about it. And then, you know, as far as his battles, it's interesting to me that all of these guys that are killers, Hitman Holla, Disaster, Arsenal, Goods. Who else did he get? He got one more person too.
That was it. He's had 4. He's had Goods, Disaster, Arsenal, and Hitman Holla.
Okay, well, according to what the status quo said, they were all supposed to desecrate him. All of them were supposed to desecrate him, and none of them did. I find it interesting that every time like a quote unquote established rapper decides to make that pivot into the battle rap ring, they always are concerned about the quote unquote industry person going and being able to perform in the battle rap ring. And they always say, yo, if Eminem came, we would destroy him. And if Royce came, we would destroy him. And I disagree, because Joey went in there, he battled Hollow the Don. Hollow the Don was supposed to desecrate him. He couldn't figure out how to. Cassidy battled all these killers. They can't figure out how to. I'm starting to look at them and think to myself, maybe it's difficult for y'all to battle somebody or come up with the proper direction to battle somebody that's more popular than you. That's not an easy thing to do. You know what I mean? Now, he ain't battled Mook. You know what I'm saying? Like, Mook is a different story. Daylight is a different story. You know what I'm saying? But Hitman Holla, Ars, Disaster, Goods so slick with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just thought somebody was gonna give Cash like a problem. I thought they were gonna give him a problem. But I mean, shit, he went up there and he did him. You know what I'm saying? And he represented shit for the industry side. You know what I mean? So far, we ain't really took no L's, bro.
So, Royce, you also said that battling is on your bucket list. Would Cassidy be at the top of that list? Or tell me a couple artists or battle rappers that would be at the top of your list.
I haven't thought that far into it. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely don't have a list. It's not one of those things where I'm looking at anybody in particular. I literally, man, if it makes sense, I'll battle literally anybody, because I just feel like it's going to be the same result anyway, whether it's Cassidy or whoever it's going to be. You know what I mean? Like, so it really doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? It just had to be the right fit at the right time for the right price, and it had to be the right event. It had to bring the right energy to the culture. You know, if we're going to be a part of it, we're going to make it count. You know what I'm saying? We're going to make it the most amazing thing we've ever seen, the most amazing thing we've ever witnessed. You know what I mean? So it could be one of plenty of people. Cassidy could be one of those people, because he brings a lot of viewership to the table. You know, if that's something that he would be open to, I'm definitely open to discussing that. But I haven't thought about anybody in particular. I ain't have anybody in mind like that. It's just shit talking and wishful thinking. I love the competitive side of it. Hoping that it'll inspire something in one of the youngins. You know what I'm saying?
So, Royce, I want to ask you your thoughts on a potential battle with Cassidy and Eminem. Is this something that could ever happen? A lot of people say they want to see it. Some people say it would never happen. Some people say Eminem would never come back for it. But I know I don't need to remind you, Eminem responded to MGK like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll say this. Cassidy would have a better shot at M responding to him writing a diss record. You know what I'm saying? than we would getting him to come to the battle rap stage and commit, to 3 rounds on camera and give somebody ownership of his likeness and that content, and just like, I just don't see him doing it. I don't see a scenario where that would even make sense. Somebody of his magnitude, he would be better off just doing it on his own platform, and then who would he single out to battle, and what would be the purpose, But he definitely tuned in. He loves Murder Mook. I think Mook is his favorite right now. But he definitely tuned in. Definitely loved the battle rap scene. I mean, I'm sure he fantasizes about the shit. You know what I mean? It's a whole bunch of shit that he can't do no more that he used to be able to do, that he wish he could still do, but he just can't because he's just too larger than life. Can't make it make sense.
A lot of people say Cassidy needed to study what the battle rap game had become. Seeing what battle rap is today, does Eminem fit right back into that, or does he have to take time to fit back into it? Is it what he knows?
Yeah, it's what he knows. I mean, it was obviously different when he was actively doing it, but there's some truth to a lot of the anecdotal things that everybody regurgitates. I guess if any pivot into any space, it's going to require some adjustments, but man, the pen is the pen, man. The pen is the pen. You know what I mean? Like, adjustments are adjustments. You know what I mean? Like Cassidy's making his adjustments. He looked just fine to me. You know what I mean? And I think he has a firm understanding of the space, in terms of what he brings to the table, how to sell it, and how to go in there and execute. He figures out how to get it done. You know what I mean? So it's like, it looks like he has something figured out. You know what I mean? And the only ones who look like that they're confused are the battlers who's supposed to know every fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like my pen is my pen, man. My pen is gonna be what my pen is gonna be. Marshall's pen is gonna be what his pen is gonna be. If you think for 1 minute that we gonna go in any space where it involves rap and be fish out of water, you're clearly mistaken, man. You're talking about guys who don't have a whole lot of layers, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have a whole lot of layers, man. They're great at a thing or two. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a different level. You know what I mean? So I'm not concerned about that. I wouldn't be concerned about him coming into that space, or Crooked, or Black Thought, anybody like that. Anybody like that to go in there and cook whoever. I don't see what the issue would be.